Hi, welcome back to the Hot Girl Guide podcast, bestie. It has been a minute. If you're watching this podcast, hello. If you are listening, hello. I'm so happy to be sitting here talking to myself in my bedroom on my microphone for season 3 of the Hot Girl Guide podcast. It is Valentine's week, okay? A lot has happened since I've talked to you last. And this podcast was purely inspired by both Miley Cyrus and Shakira. Because with the two songs that they dropped in 2023, I feel like they're setting the tone for the girlies. Do you know what I mean? Of course, this podcast is for everyone. The girls, the gays, the days, whoever you are, if you're listening, you are so welcome here, and I'm so grateful that you're listening, okay? When I use the term girlies, I'm using it as a term of endearment, like the Hot Girl Guide. Of course, it's not just for the girls, okay? We're just getting that out there. I really do think Miley and Shakira set the tone for the girlies, and I think the tone for the girlies in 2023 is not accepting less than we deserve and just really having boundaries in relationships and having a certain standard that we accept in relationships. And if someone can't meet that, it's not that there's something inherently wrong with them. It's just that they're not for us. Do you know what I mean? And I don't think there's any shame in that because, besties, if you're going to be in a relationship, this person has to add to your life, not subtract, not kind of ride the wave. If you're spending a considerable amount of time with anyone, I think, in my personal opinion, they should be adding to your life, especially in relationships. Why would we settle? Why would we settle when we can buy ourselves flowers? I just think it's important to do an episode on relationship standards and dating standards and even being single standards, because I think the best time to think about the relationship you want and think about how you want to be treated in a relationship, how you want to be treated when you're dating, is when you're single, because you have time to get to know yourself. You have time to be like, okay, yes, I want this. No, I don't want that. I think when you start dating again after being single for a period of time, that's when your standards are so high. Your standards are so on lock. You're like, yes, this is what I will accept. No, this is not what I'm accepting. I like this person. This is a red flag. Like, you have no blinders on, no rose tinted glasses. You are able to clearly see red flags, green flags, all the flags. When you have been in a relationship or dating for a long time, you can almost feel, number one, either desperation to not be alone, which we're going to discuss in a minute. Your judgment can kind of get clouded because you can be like, well, this is normal. You're no longer spending as much time with yourself as maybe you did before. So you're no longer having those conversations with yourself or listening to podcasts like this, or, you're not putting yourself first as much. So what I want to talk about first is the idea that being single is bad. Because for me personally, I love being single. And I know love is a strong word, okay? It's Valentine's Day. Well, it's not Valentine's Day yet, but it's Valentine's week, whatever. I know love is a strong word. I love my own company. I love being single. I love doing things for myself. I love not basing my life plans off someone else's potential life plans that may or may not change. I absolutely love that. I think being single during your 20s is very empowering because it's a time in your life where you're trying new things and you're moving new places, and you might be in one career and then you might decide to switch to another career, and maybe you don't have kids yet, and it's such a time to be selfish in life. I think there's a lot of times to be selfish in life, to be honest, but during your 20s is one of the main big ones. And I think there's such power in having your life in your hands and being able to decide what's best for you based on the life you want to live, and not having where you go or where you don't go or what you do or what you don't do dictated by a potential relationship or the potentiality of a relationship lasting. Because if you think about it, when you're 21, if you make a decision on your life based on a relationship, and then 2 years later that relationship ends, you've made a totally different decision. And of course, everything happens for a reason. The universe is leading us on our path anyways. But I do believe that it's probably best not to be swayed too much in your 20s by the idea of a potential relationship lasting forever. Now, of course, these are just my opinions, number one. Number two, you can be in a relationship and be so your own person and not be dictated by what someone else is doing. You can be like, look, I've always wanted to move this place. I'm going to go. If you want to come with me, great. If you don't, we'll do the long distance thing. There are some people out there like that. There are some people out there who are very secure in a relationship and live their own kind of lives during their 20s whilst also coming together. But I think you have to be a very strong-minded person to do that. You have to have really good communication. And I feel like, you know what, a lot of your 20s, your brain is not developed. Your brain's not fully developed till you're 25. So technically, I'm a 3-year-old adult. My brain has only been fully developed for 3 years. Like, I'm not a 28-year-old. I'm 3. That's how I think of it. I'm like, of course, I've had so much life experience and I've done so many things, but I only know myself with a fully developed brain for 3 years. I only know what I want with a fully developed brain for 3 years. So basing decisions on someone or a potential relationship during your 20s, to me, is wild. And I've done it. I'm not preaching to the choir here. Like, I'm not telling you you should do this and I never did this and I'm amazing, because I never based my life on a potential relationship, because I have, unfortunately. I'm way too comfortable on this podcast, but I do not care. If you're in a relationship during your 20s, or if you're in your 20s right now and you're with your person and there's something you really wanted to do. Say you really want to do something, you met someone recently, their life plan kind of looks slightly different to yours. I beg of you, please still do the thing that you wanted to do. Like, if you have a massive life goal or like a bucket list item that you've always wanted to do, and I know a lot of you might be listening being like, Rebecca, that's easy for you to say, you're single. You don't have to base your choices on anyone else, because I have that privilege of being single. But I promise you, you're only going to resent the other person. And at the end of the day, that's not what you want. That is called settling. Not going to Australia or Canada or Europe or India or South America or wherever in the moon. Not going there because you're in a relationship now and it's good and it's going somewhere. In your 20s is outrageous. I just had to get really close to the mic for that, because when you look back, it's outrageous basing your entire potential future on a relationship that may or may not work out. And we don't want to settle. Here at the Hot Girl Guide, I don't want any of you to feel like you're settling in a relationship or in life, ever. We are not settling. Do you know February is the least romantic month of the year, because Valentine's Day is during Aquarius season, and Aquarius isn't that romantic. Like, it's not like a Taurus kind of romance energy. It's not a Libra romance energy. Yes, I'm bringing astrology into this. Aquarius isn't that romantic. Aquarius is very much so freedom based. Aquarius is very much so, how can I be a trailblazer in this world and in my life? So around Valentine's Day, a lot of people tend to ask themselves, am I happy in this relationship? Am I happy with this person? Am I settling? Did I lower my standards? That's why you see a lot of couples breaking up around Valentine's Day, because either A, they have really high expectations for Valentine's Day, and they're looking at everyone else getting the flowers and getting this and getting that, and they're comparing other people's relationships to theirs, and they're like, this isn't working anymore, which is a slippery slope, and we'll talk about that in a second, because I don't think Valentine's Day is like a show either. Do you know what I mean? Because I think everyone's relationship is different, and you shouldn't project insecurities onto your relationship just because other people are doing something that you would have no interest in anyway. You just want to put it on Instagram. Do you know what I mean? But February is a big time for breakups because people reevaluate their life, right? We have this New Year energy, we have the Chinese New Year energy, and it's all about reevaluation, what's working, what's not working. So if you're kind of questioning your relationship right now, and you have been for a while, it might be a time to be like, look, I'm not settling anymore, and this is not my ideal relationship. I want you to think about it this way, and even if you're single, you can do this. Get a piece of paper and write my relationship at the top of the page. And I want you to write bullet points of your idea of love. Like, what do you think that love is? What do you think that your ideal relationships looks like? Do you go out for dinner every Friday night? Do you get flowers? Do you have really good open communication? Do you want to travel? I want you to write down absolutely every single thing that your perfect relationship would have. Look, I'm the first person to tell you, there's no such thing as perfect. If you could have what you think unconditional love is, what would that look like? And is the person you're dating, or is the person you're in a relationship, like, how are they matching up to that? And of course, some things you'll be like, okay, I actually don't want this thing, or maybe that's a bit toxic. You know, you really have to journal about this, I guess. But you look at it and you're like, why don't I think I'm deserving of that? Because at the end of the day, the reason that you're settling is because you don't think you can get any better. I'm so sorry, that was very harsh. But I do think it's true. The reason that a lot of people settle, whether it's for a job, a relationship, someone they're dating, friendships, they settle because they look around and they don't think they can get any better, which completely is not true. You deserve what you want. What you want is there for a reason. If you want a relationship where you have amazing communication, you feel supported, you feel like you could talk to them about whatever you need to without it being an argument or without them getting overly emotional for no reason. If you want someone who explores with you or takes you out to dinner or does yoga in the mornings with you, I don't care what it is you want. You deserve that. You deserve to find someone who makes you feel loved. And if the person you're with right now isn't really doing that for you, you can do one of two things. Number one, you can communicate. You might communicate your needs and the person might change, or the person might be like, oh my God, I never realized that you wanted that. And it could make your relationship a million times better and you won't have to settle. Or you'll communicate that and the other person will be like, I don't know, you want too much, you're too high maintenance, I can't give you that. Or they might be like, oh yeah, okay, I'll do that, and then just do nothing. And then you have your answer. When someone shows you who they are, you have to believe them. It is one of the oldest quotes in the book. When someone tells you or shows you who they are, believe them the first time, because they're showing you. You know, actions speak louder than words. Why am I so a walking cliche today? The next thing I want to talk about is Valentine's Day is next Tuesday. And if you are in a relationship, you might be the girly who hates flowers, who hates public displays of affection, and genuinely you hate it. It's not that you have a partner who's like, that's stupid, and you're like, yeah, I know, how stupid. You might be a girly who genuinely hates the thought of a public display of affection, but yet on Valentine's Day, see your coworker getting a massive bunch of flowers in the office in front of everyone, and you go home and you are in a bad mood with your partner. Why? Because someone got something that you didn't even like anyways. Valentine's Day is this funny time because obviously you want to be made special on the day of love. You know what I mean? And there's so many arguments to this. Some people think, is Valentine's Day this massive commercial capitalism holiday? Yes, it is. But if someone can't just be romantic for the sake of it, to make you feel special on a day where so many other people are made to feel special, if it means something to you to get a card and flowers, even a donut, I don't care what it is, if it is important to you to be made feel special on Valentine's Day and have a plan on Valentine's Day, you deserve that. If it is important to you, then you shouldn't be made feel silly for wanting it. I don't care if it's a massive capitalism holiday. If it makes me feel good and if it is important to me, the person I'm with should respect that. And I know loads of people say, but I'm romantic on the other days of the year. Why does there have to be a day for it? Why can't I just randomly buy you flowers? Have you ever randomly got the flowers off that person? Like, think of that person in your head who's like, I'm not being romantic just because it's the day to be romantic. I'd prefer to just buy you flowers and take you out for dinner on a random Wednesday. Does that happen? If you're with someone who uses that argument when you try to communicate it makes you feel special, to feel special on Valentine's Day, it's important to you, and the person you're with turns around and is like, I'd prefer to be romantic on a random Wednesday. Sorry, my words are getting tongue-tied because this is getting me frustrated. Does that happen? Has that ever happened? And listen, I know it looks like I'm shitting on relationships right now, but I'm not. If you feel personally victimized by this, then maybe you need to ask yourself, am I happy in my relationship? Is the person I'm with the person I would imagine I would want to be with when I was single? If I was single for a year and I dreamed up my dream relationship, would this person match up to it? Yes or no? Yes or no? That's all I'm asking you. Girlies, we're not settling for less. 2023, Miley and Shakira set the tone. We are not accepting less than we deserve. And what we deserve looks different for every single person. It looks different for me. It looks different for you. It looks different for your best friend. I don't care. Once you don't feel like you're settling, you don't have to ever get flowers. You don't have to ever go for dinner. If you don't want to do any of that stuff anyway, that's fine. Then you're not settling. But if you would only love to be celebrated and taken for dinner and bought flowers just because it's Valentine's Day, that's how you should be treated. And if you're dating, they're the standards that you should have. I saw a TikTok last night where a man made a PowerPoint presentation on why a girl should go on a date with him. They had never even met. And they were talking on Hinge. I'll leave the link to the TikTok on the Instagram and in the show notes. And this man made a full-on PowerPoint presentation to convince this girl to go on one date with him. Some people might see that as a red flag. Other people might say if he wanted to, he would. But what I'm saying is, and what the message is here is, you deserve effort and you are worthy of effort. And a lot of the times when you're in relationships where you're settling, you will look back a year later when you were so devastated if you break up with them right now because you feel like you're settling and you're like, do you know what, I deserve better. It's a hard decision to make. I'm not saying that switching frequency to a frequency where you believe you deserve more and you advocate for yourself in that way, I'm not saying it's scary. I'm not saying you won't be heartbroken, because you will. But you'll look back on that relationship in a few years and be like, I was so heartbroken over someone who didn't show me that they love me. And you'll look back, especially if you're in your 20s, because I feel like every year in your 20s you're changing. You know, I'm not the same person I was last year or the year before, yada, yada, yada. And I look back in my early 20s and what I accepted, and, you know, I'm like, you were really heartbroken over this man. We're not going to get into it, but you know what I mean? I look back and I'm like, why would you want to be with someone who doesn't want to love you the way that you receive love, or the way that makes you feel special, or the way that makes you feel respected? You know, the bar is on the floor, ladies and gentlemen. The bar is on the floor. And the only one who can raise the bar for yourself is you. For my girlies who are single and you're like, I hate Valentine's Day. It's just reminding me that I'm going to die alone with a cat and that no one loves me, yada, yada, yada. Love is the highest frequency there is. And you cannot attract love into your life if you don't show yourself love. So if you constantly say things like, I'm going to die alone, nobody loves me, I can't believe I'm single, I hate being single, I don't want to be single anymore, blah, 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 I can never find a person, no one wants me, no one loves me, I'm depressing, whatever self-deprecating thoughts you have. Do you think you are going to attract the love of your life by talking to yourself that way and acting that way about yourself? No. So what we're going to do is we're all going to take ourselves on a date for Valentine's Day. You heard me right. Now, when I say take yourself on a date, you do not have to go out for dinner alone on Valentine's Day. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not trying to humiliate you. You can grab your girls and have a galentine's, number one. Number two, what I did one year, I think it was like 2020, 2021, we were on lockdown. I went for a walk, a hot girl walk. I bought myself a donut and a bag of chips and a card and a rose, and I set up my table at home and I had a date with myself on Valentine's Day. The video is on YouTube. I will link it below. You're going to take yourself on a date this Valentine's Day because you deserve love too. My camera's going to die. Hasta la vista. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to rate 5 stars on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Shop the Hot Girl Guide merch on thehotgirlguide.com. I will see you next Wednesday. Goodbye.